Cam, Truth Fitness. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
I appreciate you inviting me on, Jack. I was just complimenting you on that beautiful skyline behind you. And yeah, it's nice to see a little bit of skyline. It's kind of grey here, which is fairly normal for London, as I'm probably sure you know. But yeah, looking forward to having a good chat with you today.
Yeah, I was going to say probably the time zone differences. It's probably the same outside. It's almost going dark here and it's almost coming light there. So good timing, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 7:45 in the morning here, and I know it's evening time for you. So you're
Yeah.
getting ready for bed. I'm getting ready for day.
I wanted to start. You've been in the health and fitness industry for a while now. I wanted to start with what are the biggest mistakes people are making when they're getting into health and fitness? Whether it's starting to work out, nutrition, building new habits, what is the main things or thing that you notice people getting wrong?
It's a great question. I think what I would probably say is that we deal with entrepreneurs. A lot of our clients are business owners and entrepreneurs. So I suppose if it's cool with you, I'll talk about that type of person specifically because there's
100%.
plenty of more generic stuff. But if that's cool with you, so I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs, very senior business people making is that because they're hyper successful in their business life, they're either running a successful business with 10, 20, 30 members of staff, or they're, a senior executive within a very successful business. They try to transfer that, what works in that world, into the health and fitness. So, say, for example, I spoke to a gentleman last week, he's got 30 kilos to lose, he's never invested in his health. He eats crap on the go. He eats out twice a week. He's in the wine bars regularly. He
Mm.
sleeps all over the place. So what he was trying to do was to do everything and change everything at the same time. So in answer to your question, I often find successful business owners, entrepreneurs try to change too much at the same time.
Mm.
And what then happens, as I'm sure you're aware, is that they get maybe a fortnight, couple of weeks out of it, and then suddenly everything starts to unravel. So I think what makes a lot of sense in my world and my coaching team is to say to people, look, let's get the basics right first, and then we can worry about protein shakes and supplementation and whoop bands and all this madness that everyone wants to jump on. Let's get the basics right. Once your sleep's fixed up and you're working out regularly and your food's in order, then we can start to build the other stuff in. So, yeah, I think that kind of answers the question. But it's something I see all the time, and it's quite, again, specifically with successful people, they want to change everything. And I think
Mm.
entrepreneurs are very all or nothing. I don't know what your experience is like. They're either doing it or they're not, and we try and get them in the middle a little bit.
Yeah. How does that conversation go to get them to, not go all in and change everything? How do you sort of rein them in? Because again, entrepreneurs are very driven. They want to do things their way. And then it's like, well, hold on, like just back up a little bit. We just need to start with step one. So how does that conversation normally go?
Yes, it's a great question again because with great difficulty, I would say. I think that the most important part is that that person needs to be ready to make that change. Again, person I spoke to last week wasn't ready to make that change. He was on a mission to do it himself, and that's fine. But we probably both know that if you've got, we both used the word earlier, which I caught you saying, which is holistic, right? So people think that it's very, very simple to fix this health problem. But unless you're, quite young, got loads of time to research, loads of time to test and tweak things. If you're doing this at 50 and you're running a business and you've got a family to look after, the chances of you actually fixing all the problems you need to fix is pretty slim, right? So I think the person that's engaging with us as a coaching company or with someone like you, they need to be in a receptive mindset. So if they're not ready to have a conversation about it, they're not ready to be coached, it's a little bit of a waste of time. You can lead the horse to water, right? But you can't make it drink. So I think with what we do in our world, there's quite a small percentage of people that I talk to that we go, right, that person's ready to make changes. Because at the end of the day, if they are, a CEO or they're a very successful person, and I'm trying to negotiate or coax them into a new way of thinking, in their world, they're the top of the tree. So it's
Mm.
a little bit like, why should I listen to you? So I think having them in that position where they're ready to make the changes and ready to be coached is really important. And often what I find in my experience is that they get to that point 99% of the time when they've tried loads of stuff that hasn't worked. And then they've tried PT, they've tried crash dieting, they've tried fat freezing, all this different stuff, right? And none of it's worked. And they go, do you know what? Actually, maybe I should speak to someone that can help. So I think they've got to be in the right mindset. Otherwise, you kind of banging your head against a brick wall, right?
Yeah, definitely. So once they're in the right mindset, what's the go-to there? So talk me through, I guess, the client journey that you would walk somebody through.
Yeah, it's great kind of question on the next steps of how we do it. So, essentially, once we've got them into that position where they're in the right mindset and they're ready to make the changes, we take them through a process. So, generally speaking, we start with habits. Habits is where we start all of our clients with, because as you know yourself, right, the
Mm.
habits, the stuff you do every day, two, three, four, 5 times a day, they're the things that have the biggest impact. So with our clients, we build them out a customized habit list based on what they need to work on. To give you an example, let's say that one of our clients is a successful CEO and they wake up at 5 in the morning, they get on the early train, they get off the train the other side, they go straight into the coffee shop and they get a croissant and a big latte with sugar and milk and all this kind of stuff. And they jump in the cab and the cab takes them to the office. So obviously, that is not a great way to start the day. So we take that as a poor habit and we flip it. So it might be right, okay, so you're going to get up early, that's fine, we can't change that. You get on the early train, that's fine, we can't change that. But instead of going into the coffee shop and having the latte and the croissant, let's go for a double espresso and a bottle of sparkling water. Okay.
Mm.
Rather than jumping in the cab to do a 3 minute journey, let's just get you to walk it. So it's those small changes that start to, like when you invest money, right? It starts to compound over time. So we give our clients 16 weeks worth of runway as a standard. If you can do that most days in the week, that will start to have a positive change. That's one example. Another
Mm.
example might be that client is heavily under eating on protein. I'm not sure what it's like in Australia, but with regard to business owners, entrepreneurs in London, generally it's really high carb, high
Mm.
sugar diet. Everyone tells us we eat too much meat. I don't actually believe that. I think most of my clients eat cereal in the morning, croissant, then it's a sandwich and crisp. Like there's no protein in there as far as I can see. So we want to increase their protein. So one of their new habits might be eat protein with every meal. Really simple. So I think that the habits for us is a huge part of what makes the change over the time. We call it habit optimization. It's just the phrase that we use to change that. The next part is nutrition. So from a nutritional standpoint, we give them a simple framework of how to eat. So obviously, more nutrient dense foods, higher protein, get some good fats in there, increase their green vegetables generally if we can. And then once they've had that framework, we give them feedback on every meal they eat. So they send us images of each meal they eat, and we give them feedback on that meal. So it's
Mm.
kind of quite heavy duty in the world of the amount of feedback we give them. But these people are very busy. They're very, they're kind of doing stuff on the fly. So having that feedback is really helpful. The next part is training. Now, you and I both know that people say they train properly, but actually, when you watch what they're doing, they're not. Whether it's their form, whether it's the weights they're lifting, whether it's the intensity, the tempo, there's a lot of moving parts that can go wrong. And also, you know, people don't know what intensity is unless they've trained that
Mm.
intensity, as I'm sure you're aware, right? So training's a big part of it. One of the kind of the biggest pillars for us is sleep. We have to fix their sleep, have to improve that sleep. So give you an example, the kind of people we work with, highly caffeinated. So they're drinking coffee all through the day. Spoke to a guy 2 weeks ago that was drinking coffee at 6 p.m. and wondering why he wasn't sleeping. It's like, well, you're highly stimulated, man. You're not going to sleep that way. And then often what happens, because they're highly stimulated, their sleep falls out of kilter. Also drinking alcohol regularly. A lot of our
Mm.
clients initially are drinking a lot of alcohol, whether it's, networking events, whether it's client lunches, stuff like that. And they have no sleep hygiene. There's no structure to their sleep. So really start to focus on what can we do here. So two quick wins. Caffeine for sure is a quick win. Stop having caffeine. If you can stop having caffeine by midday, it's a great way to give yourself a chance to get out of your system. Alcohol, if you can reduce that as much as you can, that's going to have an impact on your sleep. The amount of people I've spoken to that think red wine is good for sleep, I couldn't tell you. We're talking about hundreds, but it's an old wives' tale. Alcohol's not good for sleep, right? And
Mm.
having some structure around sleep. So some simple ones: no water, no drinks an hour before bed, so you don't have to get up and go to the toilet in the middle of the night. Try and get some reading done. Bring the light down a little bit. And a massive one for our clients is no phones or iPads in bed, because they're doing emails at 9 p.m., their brain's firing with blue light and they're going, right, I want to go to sleep now. It just doesn't work.
No.
And the last part is neat. So non-exercise thermogenesis, right? So movement is a big part of what we do. So the obvious one is steps, right? So getting to move more. So with the example I gave earlier, those little kind of moments in the day, go for the walk instead of grabbing the taxi. If you're having an internal meeting, stick your AirPods in, go for a walk around the park and do the internal meeting on your phone. Obviously, you can't do a client meeting like that, right?
Mm.
But what then happens when they follow those 5 pillars is that in the first fortnight, they start to see the changes that they want. So as you can see, there's more to that than eat less and move more, which is the generic advice that everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people pump out in our industry. It's more of a holistic approach. So unless that person's in that right mindset, they're just not going to do that work. They're going to struggle. So yeah,
Mm.
you understand the process.
Yeah, I love that. What you probably spoke for at least 10 minutes and you didn't even mention working out because the main thing, like the truth about fitness is it's everything else other than the workout. And that's what a lot of people get wrong. They're like, just jump straight in the workout, change nothing else. And instead of like you said, you're already doing these things. So why not optimize the things you're already doing and you'll start to see results anyway. And the workouts are just something you add in when you can. So, and that takes a really good coach to understand that. So let's dive into you. So let's go back and like, what's your story? How did health and fitness start for you?
Yeah, I don't know how long we've got, but it could be quite a long one. But I think I'll just kind of summarize it. So what interests me as well, just quickly, is that again, I can only talk about the UK. I know Australia's different in the way that health and fitness is run. I think from my personal perspective, Australia values health and personal training probably a lot more than what the UK does. So I think my personal experience of the health and fitness industry in the UK has been pretty poor, to be totally frank with you. So let's take it back to what my initial dream was as a human. My initial dream was to be a professional rugby player. So played rugby from 6, started to get up into 17, 18, started to play higher standard. Went to university with the one goal of I can go to university, do a sports science degree, and play rugby at the same time, and the standards going up and up. So that was my
Nice.
initial dream. Was personal training at the same time, doing some S&C qualifications, S&C coach, so strength and conditioning coaching for anyone that doesn't know. So we have something here called the UKSCA, which is the top standard of strength and conditioning. I know you've got very similar things in Australia as well. So that allows you to work with professional athletes, whether it's Olympic standard, national standard, right? So my kind of dream was to be a professional rugby player, and next to that was this strength and conditioning part. So got to national two level, which is kind of like two below the top level in this country.
Mm.
And then body started to fall apart. I was like, do you know what? It's not going to happen. Let's stop. Probably not quite good enough to get to that top level anyway. And yeah, just threw myself headfirst into the strength and conditioning stuff. So worked at London Wasps, which I don't know if you know is a famous rugby club over here, and worked with an American football team, worked with some Olympic athletes, and slowly but surely started to realize that there's not a lot of money in that world unless you get a Tottenham Hotspurs knocking your
Mm,
door down to bring you in, or the equivalent. It's not somewhere you can make loads of money. So from that, moved more into the body transformation world, which like to study, what does it take to get someone in great shape in that kind of 12 weeks is the general time span, right? So moved into that world, learned that there's people in that world that are very, very good at it. I know you guys have got Ultimate Performance over there. They started in the city of London over here. So Ultimate Performance from our side is like the flagship kind of personal training, body transformation business, but never really kind of liked that world. The kind of, I'm not going to talk their brand down at all because I've actually chatted to Nick a couple of weeks ago. He's an inspiration to what he's built, right? But I think that kind of whole in the mirror, six pack, bicep, oiled up photo thing just really wasn't for me. And the
mm,
more I got into the entrepreneurial world and more into that kind of, working with that niche, I realized that most of them don't want that either. It's more about that kind of health transformation, really. They want to live longer, they want to earn more money, they want to be there for the grandkids. They're not bothered about a six pack. And that's where we move more into. So I suppose that's really where the idea for True Fitness started. That's where the idea started because I was in the gym and it was 5:30 in the morning on a Friday morning. I got into the gym first thing, and there's this personal trainer who was probably late 50s at the time. So I would have been mid 20s, something like that, late 50s. And he's standing on the lifting platform and he's kind of, when a dog pisses on something to mark its territory, right? This guy was marking his territory on this platform because he wanted that platform to work for him all day.
mm,
And I sat there and said to myself, do I want to be doing this at 50, working every hour God sends, pissing on the platform because I want to claim it as my own? I thought I've got more to give than that. There's more that I can give to the world and for myself, right? So that ambition was always there. And that's really where the kind of, the idea of True Fitness came about, building something that's better, higher standard, something that really focuses on a really great level of service. And my clients weren't really changing. They weren't getting the physical changes and the mental changes that I wanted. And we spoke before this call about how really it's the coaching, it's the habit changes that makes the biggest difference. So when you are a personal trainer, as you know yourself, the way you make money is you bang out your diary. So you've got as many sessions in as possible. You might have half an hour to grab some food, then try and give yourself an hour to work out. You have two in the evening and you get home. Like it's a pretty relentless world. And my
mm,
clients won't change it. So I thought there's got to be a better way. So very long story short, that's where the kind of idea for True Fitness came around because it was more about holistic approach, understanding what gets these people to change, no matter how busy they are, no matter how stressed they are, no matter how much they travel and how much alcohol they drink. How do you get these people to change? Because they're not your 22-year-old that's got tons of time and can learn from Instagram. And the stuff that's being pumped out is so confusing, especially for that type of demographic, because
mm.
in their world, they can problem solve and they can work things out. But if you spend 30 seconds on Instagram, it blows my brains out. And I've been in this world for 20 years, right? So what do they think? So I suppose that's a little bit about the journey. With backtracking about what's my experience been in the fitness industry. I think in the UK, and this is something I'm really working on changing as well, by the way, because I'm kind of the new wave that's coming through, right? In the UK, personal training is kind of like it's considered a bit of a, I'm going to be really choice my words here because I don't want to come across as a dick, but it's kind of thought about as a bit of a, I'd call it a Mickey Mouse industry, like a bit of an industry that's not really doing much
Okay.
because culturally, and again, I can only comment for the UK. I think culturally, um, the people that are looked up to in our industry generally are people that are influencers, people that have
Mm,
got big social media accounts. Again, I'm not going to sit here and name any names because I don't want to go down that road ever, but it's the people that have got the big accounts, it's the ones that have got the biggest influence that people go, oh, well, that's the person I should be listening to. And really, there's the companies that are here that sit here, and I could only really name you probably two. that I look up to that are sitting here delivering amazing results with a high level of service, that are doing things a lot better. That it's really, you got to really kind of push yourself out there and make a name for yourself, because it's these influencers that really everyone's listening to. And I'll quickly, I know I'm going on a little bit, but there was a gentleman that is very, very well known within the media. Um, Probably the biggest in this country. He's got millions of subscribers, right? And he ran the London Marathon, which was about a month ago now. And he did this thing called slow running, which is he ran really slow. Da, da, da. Um, and then he put a post out, and it was about everyone should be running. Everyone should be running. Everyone can run. And I commented on it. And again, I'm not going to mention names, but people probably know I'm talking about. I commented, I said, this is the worst piece of advice I've ever
Mm,
heard anyone give to the general population. Look, NHS waiting rooms, get yourself ready for broken ankles, ripped hamstrings. It's just ridiculous. You know, if you've got someone that's 10, 20, 30 kilos overweight, you want to start running, it's
mm,
just such bad advice. So I think, you know, to summarize, I really want to make a change in this country around how the industry is looked at, how it is, you know, monitored, because you can get a qualification from zero to personal trainers in about 4 to 6 weeks, which for me is
mm.
bonkers. Um, and yeah, just building true fitness is my way of building something that does things better and gives opportunity to great coaches. So yeah, I hope I've not taken too much time up, but I could have gone
No,
on.
100%. And yeah, I totally agree. I guess Australia's a little bit better than that. I think we do have a few influencers doing the right thing and giving the right advice, but yeah, like I battle with that as well, even with my clients. So I guess the next question would be, a lot of my clients will say, "Hey, Jack, I've seen this, or I listened to this podcast, and they said I need to do this now." I'm like, "Well, hold on, you don't need to do that yet." So, how do you like get your clients to quieten that noise so they can actually focus on what matters?
I think it's really important that you build that trust with that person. So again, I had a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago, and they came to the call and they were trying calorie counting. So they drop themselves. This is just they're doing it themselves, right? Self kind of reliant programs. They dropped 800 calories a day
Phew.
from their calorie count, which is heavy duty, right? So we
Mm,
both know that person is going to burn out. Then it's not they're not going to be doing it. They're also stuck in intermittent fasting. They'd also started to do couch to 5K. Like it was a complete mess, right? So that person wasn't ready to make the change. They didn't trust me enough. They didn't trust my brand and my company and my coaches, right? They didn't trust us enough. So when we do get people into the program, I suppose we've built a system where we only bring in 6 new clients every month, and we're really strict on that. We really kind of take our time, you know, having conversations with our potential customers. So we'll probably spend 2 to 3 hours with each person we talk to before we even show them our programs. So the
mm,
whole kind of idea behind that is to make sure from a selfish point of view that person's going to be a good fit and they're going to do the work, because as you and I both know, having someone that's not doing the work is very frustrating and often means they're complaining because oh, it's not working, so we're not doing anything I'm asking you. So that's a problem. I think the second part to that is building that trust to say, look, we can bring you in, but you've got to get off of Instagram. You've got to stop listening to TikTok. You've just got to do what we say and trust the process. And by the way, here's 200 testimonials to prove this is what we do and this is the results we get. So I think in answer to your question, it's not easy, but I think once you get to that point where the client trusts you and goes, you know what, I've got it, I'm just going to do what you say, then the noise starts to quieten down. And a big one for us, a massive one, which I often talk about. I spoke to a client yesterday about this. They just start on their journey, but when they start a program with us, we say 100% you have to guarantee, and this is a deal breaker from our side, you can't do any activity outside of what we tell you.
mm.
And they go, well, why is that then? Say, right, well, I'll tell you a quick story. Client of ours a year and a half ago came on board with us, gave us the nod and said, yeah, I'll only do what you tell me. Gave us a call on Friday afternoon. Oh, hey, really sorry, Cam. I was on the beach yesterday on holiday, and my 18-year-old nephew said, let's have a running race. I'd had 3 cans of beer and dropped my guard, and now I've ripped the hamstring out the back of my leg.
Mm,
Right. That's why we tell you not to do stuff that we don't ask you to do. So we've got to get our clients in a position where they go, do you know what? I trust these guys. You just tell them what to do and we'll do it. And personally, when I work with a coach, whether it's a PR coach or marketing coach, whatever coach it is, I go, do you know what? Just tell them what to do and I'm going to do it because you know what you're doing. I don't. And I think if you could be coachable and get rid of the noise and just go, do you know what? I trust these guys, or I trust Jack, or I trust Cam and his team. Then you're in a great position because then you're going to get the best results, right? So it's not easy, as you know, but I think it's about getting that trust position and being really picky with who you allow. Now you do use the word allow, who you allow to go onto your program because it can be all too easy just to get people in. But I've had it bite me in the ass probably 20 times where you go, oh, why did I let that person on the program?
mm. Let's talk about tracking because, again, busy professionals, entrepreneurs like numbers. They like to see things going up and graphs, and they like to see like physical results. Do you do any type of tracking or anything like that with your clients?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So we've got our own application called the Truth Accountability Plus app. So when the customer signs up with us, they log themselves into their app. Everything we build inside the app is built by a coach. So a big part of what we stand for at Truth is to make sure that we are human first fitness in a digital world. So when AI, which we both know is very, very much here, AI automation is the obvious place for personal trainers to go because it frees up a lot of time, etc. My big concern with that is that then the coaching becomes very watered down. What's coming from the human, what's coming from the AI, right? So we've gone completely the opposite way, and everything that's built up by us, by the app, and for the client is by a human. All the feedback is by a human. All the tracking is by a human. So there's no automated kind of part to our program. So it does mean it's a premium product because you're paying for an actual person rather than a computer which costs nothing. And then with regard to tracking, there's a few things we track. So generally speaking, we get our clients to get an Apple Watch or a Fitbit. We often recommend because it's pretty cheap, right? Which helps to track steps. So steps is an
Mhm.
obvious one. We spoke about NEAT earlier, which is that movement, getting them to move more. So steps definitely. Sleep is something we track as well through their watch if they've got one. The great thing about the sleep apps and having that kind of data, it pulls into our app and we can say, right, look at your first month of sleep. The average is 4.5, 5. You're going to bed late, waking up early, but look at it now. You're averaging
Mm,
6.5. It's a lot more fluid. So steps and sleep are really like a backbone of what we're doing here. When it comes to physical attributes, KPIs, body shots. So front, side, and back body shots go into the app. We do that weekly. That gives us an opportunity to check in with the client and go, hey, look at the difference in this one and this one. So things we often look at, bloating around the stomach. That's a big one for our clients because they're eating tons of sugar and carbohydrates, generally having beer, grains and all the kind of shitty oils that none of us want to be eating. So bloating's a big one. Also, posture's massive for our clients. So a lot of our guys, because they're sat on the computer, if it's not
mm,
all day, they've done it for donkey's years. They start to get neck pain and they're getting the arches in the back and the hips are all out. So the photos give us an opportunity to look at posture, which is a massive one. Also reduction in bloating. But as they go through the process, they'll start to see changes in body fat percentages. Okay, well, I used to have a bit of fat here, which I hated. Now I haven't got it. The second part to that is weight. Weight's a really easy metric. Now, I'd say 99% of our clients have got some form of weight loss goal, probably similar to you. The weight loss goal at the start is the gateway to all the other stuff. So, generally
mm,
speaking, we set some kind of weight loss goal, whether it's 10 kilos or 15 kilos. So, we track their weight. Again, it'll be the same time on the same day in the same condition. So anyone that's watching this, if you are using weight as a metric, don't do one at 7 a.m. and the next week do it 8 p.m. because they're going to be totally different. I mean, I don't know what your experience is like. We've had clients move the scale across the bathroom and it's 2 kilos out. It's up, but the floor's uneven. So having that as repeatable as possible with the photos. So we don't do down light, all that stuff. We just go, right, find a space in your house that's a white wall, stand opposite the wall, get your wife or your husband to take the photo for you if you can, and do it in the same position at the same time of day. So the light's similar, the light's same above your head. Do the measurement, the weight measurement at the same time, same place, same condition. So get up, do a wee, do it in your boxer shorts or your undergarments. Do the weight. The last one we take as well is a belly button measurement. So really simple. Just take like a tailor's tape or flexi tape. We teach them how to do stomach circumference because, as we both know, especially for guys that are holding a lot of body fat, getting that measurement down as quickly as
Mm.
possible is really important for, you know, long-term health. So fat around the organs is really important. So they're the kind of metrics we generally track. And then inside of the application as well, it will track all their strength improvements across all of the different movements. So say a core movement like a Romanian deadlift, for example, excuse me, it will track their strength improvement. So say week one, they manage 30 kilos. We check in with them every 3 weeks. I do. And we go, right, you've improved by 5%. Brilliant. So we can track every single kind of individual movement. When it comes to things like, we had a couple of clients that were running the marathon, wanted to get in shape for a marathon. We can track their kind of running speed if we need to, but I'd say they're the core ones that we track through the process.
Yeah, nice. So, what's in the future for Truth Fitness? Like you talk about wanting to change the industry. So, what does that look like, and what does it look like for Truth Fitness?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was hoping you was going to ask that because it's something I was thinking about this morning. So we've been around for 9 years now, and this is coming into our ninth year in December. So kind of coming up to the big 10-year mark, which is a big one for
Mm,
business, right?
awesome.
And yeah, no, it's gone quickly. I mean, we had COVID in there, so there was
Yeah.
like two and a half years of what's going on here. So I kind of there was a little bit of a reset, but yeah, we're coming up to year nine. I think we're in a really kind of great place now as a business because we're carving out this niche within what we do. So we spoke before the call briefly around kind of the change in culture and the change in society that we're seeing. Again, I want to specifically talk about entrepreneurs. So
Mm,
when you look at kind of the type of business owner, entrepreneur that these guys and girls have looked up to when they were starting out on their journey. Generally, it was, a fat cat in a suit with a, belt and braces and a big tie and overweight and smoking cigars and drinking whiskey, right? That's, again, I'm talking about London specifically because London may be slightly different globally, but that was the kind of business owner they would look up to. I'll give it Philip Green is the example I often use. Don't know if you know him, but he's a kind of serial entrepreneur over here, but he's in terrible shape. Well, that was the kind of person they looked up to. Now we're seeing, Jeff Bezos, the transformation that he went through. You're seeing the guys over at Facebook, so Zuckerberg. So the kind of people they're looking up to has completely changed. And even we've seen it culturally inside of business now in London, things are starting to change. So what's actually happened here is that, from a wealth perspective, it's all about more money, more hours, longer travel, right? And the problem with that is that if you do that and you put health to the side, you will have implications to that. Generally, what I see is around 60 years of age, if you haven't looked after yourself, that's where the wheels start falling off because you've
mm,
you've just not invested. You've invested in your car and your home and your holidays and your nice watch and all this kind of stuff. But you haven't invested in yourself, and that's where the wheels start falling off. So, in answer to your question, we have a real focus now on health and wealth. So that kind of term that's pretty well known, but we're starting to own that term within our space because the clients we're now working with, the people we're starting to move into and start to talk to, they're in that wealth space. To give you an example, we was in an event 3 weeks ago now, down in the West Country, and it was wealth management event. So we was at this event, people going, why is there health and fitness company sitting on a private investment bank's stall giving out supplements and a restaurant guide, all this kind of stuff. And the reason being is because you know it's great that you've got to 40 or 50 or 55 and you've amassed all of this wealth, right? But unless you can get yourself in good shape, you're not going to have long to enjoy it. You're going to
Mm.
have a position where, okay, I'm 55, I've got £10 million in the bank, but I can't kick a football with my grandson. I can't pick my granddaughter up. I can't play golf anymore. I can't go on the boats and do the yachting anymore. So, in answer to your question, we're really pushing to a new level now where we're starting to partner up with wealth managers and work with these entrepreneurs and business owners to start to change their outlook from a cultural and societal level, that wealth is great, but the health is more important. Because if you took all your money away right now, but we said you could have another 20 years of living the healthiest life ever and enjoying it, I guarantee you 99.9% of the people we talk to will give that up. So I think from our perspective, we're really focusing on changing that thought process, that culture, because in our experience, what happens is when you look after the boss, the CEO, the entrepreneur owner, right? When you get that person to change and transform their mindset, it suddenly starts to have a trickle down approach in the business. So the senior executives see, oh, John's lost 20 kilos. John's not sweating anymore. John's not miserable. John's not effing and blinded every 30 seconds because he's got a hangover and things have changed. And then what happens is the senior team see it and then the secondary team see it. So what actually happens is the culture of the company begins to change. So just quickly, because I know we're kind of probably running out of time a little bit, but in the UK, there's a massive obesity problem. Within the next 20 years, we're going to be top five in the whole world. It's really
Mm.
bad. We're on the coattails of the USA, right? We're not far behind. And from my perspective, if we can help more entrepreneurs and business owners, the top of the tree business people, to transform their mindset and transform their health, that will have a huge cultural and societal change. Because suddenly, if you look at a company that's got 40 employees or 50 or 100 employees, if you change the whole culture of that company, all those people start to take proactive change around their health, their kids see it, their husbands and wives see it. So there's a huge impact for that. So there's a bigger issue at play here. It's not eat less, move more. This is higher stuff. This is about culture and societal change. So I suppose what I'm saying in a nutshell is that there is some change happening, but I think truthfully you want to get behind that and start to really push it and change, because the influencers and the shit information that's being put out, go running every day when you're 30 kilos overweight and you smoke 20 fags a day, it's just not going to do the deed. It's got to be something that is, more targeted, more holistic, more kind of education based, which really is what I want to get behind in the next 5, 10 years. So I hope I've answered the question. It wasn't too long.
100%. And you answered the next five questions I had because, again, like you change that one person at the top of the pyramid and it just comes down. And again, like you said, it goes down to the employees, but then the employees' families and then the kids grow up with a healthy lifestyle. So it just flows on. So I do believe that's how you change the whole community and create that healthy habit. So people, and that obesity level goes down. Let's finish off with one question. If you had the control over every single human in the UK, you could get them to do one thing, just one thing a day, but everybody had to do it. So young, old, no matter the position they hold, everybody had to do that one thing. What would you get every single person to do?
Learn how to cook a meal.
Mm, nice.
So I
Why?
think the obvious answer would be go for a walk, or again, I can name influencers that are pushing the exercise thing. Okay, exercise is great, but if you're going home and yamming a load of chocolate and crap and processed pizza down your neck, you can exercise as much as you want. It won't make a difference. If we can teach adults and kids what actual food is, not heavy duty calorie counting or mad apps, but actually go, look, this is what a good plate of food looks like. This is what your body actually wants. And I've seen it 1,000. I see it in my own kids, right? If I look at my kids and they have, you know, for breakfast, I get them to have some scrambled egg, bit of good organic quality butter in there, a little bit of salt, and they enjoy eating that food. And their mood is like, boom, nice and easy. If you flip it and they've gone to my mum's house, for example, and they've had bloody shreddies or some shit, they're all over the place. They're everywhere, all over the place, right? And then if you get him to have a decent lunch, like my young son Louis, he likes a bit of nice ham with a bit of cheese, bit of pepper. His mood is stable. He's happy. He's good. And I think we have, again, in the UK, I can comment on it. People don't realize how much impact what you put in your mouth has on how you feel. If you eat processed pizza that costs £1 from a shop that's built that from chemicals, you are what you eat, right? It's going to make you feel
Mm.
like shit. So it's a big thing. Like it's a real big problem. It's something that can't be fixed like that. But I think education around food, it needs to be, a big part of what's shared because unfortunately, the stuff that the government put out over here, it's crap. It's very Americanized. So I hope that answers the question anyway.
No, 100%. And this is very similar here. And that answers, no one's actually answered that before. So I absolutely love that. Thank you. So where can people find you, find True Fitness, work with you, all the above?
Yeah, cool. So I think the best place to check us out will be LinkedIn. So I'm posting on LinkedIn every day. So you can just search Cameron Harris, True Fitness. You'll find us on there. We post content every day. Very much how I've spoken today. It's kind of geared towards the business community and entrepreneurs. So, if you're a mum and you're looking to get some workouts, you die probably not suitable. But if you're an owner, if you're running a team, if you're a senior executive, the stuff that we put out will be helpful. So definitely LinkedIn, you can Google us as well, truefitness.co.uk. And yeah, we're very warm, friendly, and supportive as a business. We're very conversational. We're not going to point fingers and make you feel uncomfortable. We just start every journey with a bit of a chat like me and you've had today, Jack, and see where it takes us, really.
Yeah. Like I said at the start, like absolutely love how you just talk about changing the things people are already doing, like cooking. Like people are already cooking, so just why not do it a little bit better? It's going to make a huge difference.
Even
Uh,
10% better, right? It makes a massive impact. Yeah.
yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, just thanks for inviting me on, Jack. I could see the sun's going down. I'm sure you've got a bit of a steak in the fridge ready to go. And yeah, appreciate your time, mate. And I wish you all the best of luck in the world. And I think us people in this industry need to stick together a little bit. I think again in this country, there's a lot of backbiting and kind of people calling it. And I know I mentioned someone today, but I kept it as generalised as possible. There's a lot of people that name and shame and
Mm.
highlight accounts and watch video. All this, I don't think it's a productive way for us to go forward. So it's great to connect with you today, and I hope that we can chat more in the future. But yeah, appreciate you inviting me on today.
Nah, appreciate you coming on. Thanks for your time. It's a great chat, and I reckon a lot of people are going to get some really good information about that.